Well, this is a delight, Louise. You're doing something in South Africa. It seems important to me. It's called Partners for Possibility. So the first, why that name? Why those words did you pick to describe your nation-building run?
Because it's a good question. Firstly, the word possibility has really played a big role in our lives. South Africa used to have a brand that says South Africa Alive with Possibility, and we've forgotten that. So we have a mission to reignite the conversation of possibility in South Africa. Secondly, the idea, we knew we wanted to build a bridge between business and school principals, but we wanted to shift it away from mentors and coaches that has a particular power relationship to a co-learning and co-action reciprocal relationship. And for us, partner is the only way that describe that. So,
why did you pick these two focal points of executives and school principals?
So our school system is in crisis, and we have 20,000 schools that have been they've been labeled as dysfunctional, or they're not producing the outcomes that we want, or whatever, but they're failing. And they're failing in a harsh way because the children in those schools can't read and do mathematics, basic mathematics. So it has a very big implication then for children if they're in a school where they don't learn the basics. When we started to look at why that is, we discovered that most of these principals have become disillusioned and disengaged and have forgotten or have lost their sense of purpose and joy in doing their work, one thing. Secondly, most of them have never had the opportunity to get proper, good leadership development experience. So they felt underprepared for their jobs and they felt under-supported. On the other hand, we have millions of business leaders who have so much to offer and who want to make a contribution, but they had no way in. And so they were kind of sitting on the sidelines saying, I've got so much to offer, but I don't know how. And what they then end up doing is they do some corporate social investment project where they go and dump a computer lab on a school when the school really needed a training program for parents or something. They needed something very different from what the corporate people felt. So we wanted to create a partnership so that people could be on a journey together and that the corporate people could bring what is necessary in those communities as determined by the community rather than by the corporate.
So you bring them together and they do a project, a community project, right?
Well, there's a whole process. So one of the things we've learned is that when we just said, come together and do some work, it didn't quite work. So what we've done is we've looked at what are the 9 components of world-class leadership development programs, because we wanted to fund this very differently from the traditional charity, donor-dependent funding. So we decided that we could package a leadership development program for business leaders. So our business leaders pay to be part of this program, and it is an alternative to go to business school. Because they know that when they work with a principal, they will learn something about community in South Africa, they will have access to a community in a way that the business school can never offer them. So they join a community of practice, 10 partners from the business school, from business, and 10 principals who are called a leadership circle. They are facilitated by a learning process facilitator whose job it is to just accompany these people on the journey. And then they attend 5 days of training courses, 2 of them influenced by you. So they do flawless consulting together as a group to learn how to contract with each other to have a reciprocal relationship as they go on this journey together. They do Time to Think by Nancy Klein, and they do 6 months into their program, they do the 2-day community building workshop, which is based on the 6 conversations of community. And those are kind of catalytic in that they spur them into action, and they give them a new set of skills to do some work. So the work that they have to do has to do with developing the leadership skills of the principal in this partnership, mobilizing the teachers to be a cohesive team and getting them to work more together. And then most importantly, but we knew we couldn't go there first, to mobilize the community and the parents so that the parents realize that it's their job, that they have a very important part to play in educating our children. So we're mobilizing active citizenship in the community.
So the business leader has contracts to help business management leadership skills with the principal.
They contract to bring their skills and their gifts, what they have to offer, to this school in a way that is asked for. So they often come, it's a very interesting process. They start out thinking, I've got all this knowledge and skill and experience, I'm going to go and make change happen at the school. And very quickly they realize that it's not what the school and the people in the school are interested in. So they learn how to show up, be present, be a thinking partner, be available. Your words has struck a chord for all of us when you said that the delivery vehicle of my expertise is my humanity. That has been one of the most powerful learning for all of us, is the realization that as business leaders, when we go into schools, we can't fix or make change happen. We don't have any authority to do that. But if we show up and we're present and we keeping our promises and we replace help with curiosity, amazing things become possible.
So how is the lives and awareness of the business leaders changing? Give us one or two short stories about business leaders' lives.
We now have 113 business leaders, and every one of them have a story to tell. And the stories are around. I've had to confront my own racism, and I have had to confront the fact that I'm certain, and I always walk into rooms thinking I have the answers, and the cost of that. One of the beautiful stories is Chantal Degen, who's the head of wellness at Vodacom, who discovered that when things get really tough in Vodacom, it's really fabulous for her to go to the school because that's where they sing. And she discovered that Alexandra, where the school is situated, and which she thought is a very scary place, is actually a place with just the most amazing human beings. So we say to the business leaders, kind of tongue-in-cheek up front, that we want them to fall in love with the principles, because it's only once they've fallen in love with them that they could be useful. And then they all kind of, they laughed and they're uncomfortable about it. And then 6 months later, they would meet me at an event and say, Louise, I realize now what you meant, because up until that moment, I was trying to fix the principle. But now that I've fallen in love with them, I'm journeying with them. So a year into the program, we asked them, so what now? What do you want to do? And the business leaders, almost without exception, we've had a few that have dropped off, but almost without exception, they say, I'm not leading this. This is my life. This has become part of my identity. We say that they get promoted from being partners for possibility to buddies for life.
BFLs. So how has this changed you?
On 1,000 different ways. One is this, because I'm a partner myself, my principal is Ridwan Samuddin, and I have learned more from Ridwan than I've learned from all of the major leadership development programs I've been on and doing a doctorate, etc. So I've discovered that there's a different way of learning the skills that we keep talking about, and so it's just that the possibility of business leaders going into schools to learn about leadership rather than sitting in stuffy business schools. Because when they go into schools, then they discover something about their own humanity and something about the community. And people keep telling us that they think we are not changing education. We are reclaiming democracy in South Africa. So that possibility is extremely exciting. So when I hear people talk about the role of business in society and shared value and all these business school leaders, all I want to do is I want to bring them to South Africa, and I want to say, come and look how what you are talking about is happening.
What about, come back to you though, so
it's been
enhance your own humanity?
In more ways than I can describe. We've talked before about kind of being certain and have the answers, and go and try and do this work in a school and realize you have no answers. And yet, if you can somehow find the courage to keep going and be vulnerable and authentic and be present, miracles happen every single day. So not a guy, I speak to lots of people and they say, I don't know, how's my work having an impact in the world? And I can imagine that someone like you may wonder about that. I've never written a book, but I know that in 113 communities around South Africa, amazing things are happening because I said yes to your invitation. I took a step, which is creating, and that's been catalytic. And now there's a self-organization nature to this. It's not, I don't have to be there. Tonight, right now, they're having a celebration event in Cape Town. It's heartbreaking for me not to be there, but that's what's happening now, because there's no way that any of us can be everywhere.
You also decided that all children of South Africa were yours.
Well, you challenged me. I remember at dinner, and I said, I was talking about my children and those children, and you kind of almost knocked the glass over and said, Louise, aren't they all your children? And it's changed. That was a life-changing moment. As a result of that, I now go into the schools and I say to the principals, how many of my children are in your school? And I'm the mother of 14 million children, and I get emails from people saying, Mother of the nation, we really want you to take care of yourself. So there's a kind of, it's become part of my identity, is that this amazing, and because I have the opportunity to speak to many other people, I'm challenging all of us to stop this thing about their children, and these are all our children. So I've discovered that the purpose why I'm on the planet is to mobilize South African citizens to reclaim responsibility for raising our children. And it's not about, kind of fixing education.
Say that again, but don't add a paragraph to it.
So my purpose is to mobilize South Africa to reclaim responsibility for raising our children.
Cool. More you want to say? Anybody else want to?
I want you to say, can I ask you something for the principals?
What?
So when you hear the story and you hear about principals reclaiming their role as community leaders, and you hear about business leaders leaving their corporate offices to go into schools, and you know that a lot of that has been influenced by your work, what is your response to that?
I think when I hear about it, it's all in the translation. And I think the fact that it's grounded in a school, it's grounded with real difficult situations, is just an awesome part of what you do. And I can imagine how powerful that is. And you're such a great voice for that. Ridwan, you send me his stuff, and the people there, they've taken some of my ideas much more seriously than I would ever dare. Really.
I have.
And then I see that and I say, oh my God, when will I take my ideas that seriously?